Welcome everybody to Floatcast. Again, coming to you from the Reno River Festival, and we're very excited. We have a very special guest with us today, Miss X from New Wave Crave, a Reno-based musical group performing here at Reno River Festival this week. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, we love to create community here at Faded Floater. What we're really about is finding great people, great friends, great music, great drinks, and really just sharing that story. And I think what we're really interested to learn from you about today is kind of your background, both in the music scene here in Reno and also kind of a little bit about your floater history as well. I know you've shared with us that you have a little bit of history floating and some good stories, but I wanted to start in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and the background and in the band?
Okay, awesome. So yes, I'm Miss X of New Wave Crave, but my real name is Laura Rock. Born and raised in Reno, Nevada. I got my start in music officially in 2019. I joined an 80s rock cover band. So we were doing some heavy stuff, Scorpions, Iron Maiden, Metallica. And we were performing in, I think, the 2022 Riverfest. We performed the first set of the Sunday show. And then New Wave Crave, my current band, shut that day down. And so I saw New Wave Crave performing on the main stage and was just blown away and was like, this is awesome. So
you started in 2019 in music. What were you doing before that? Were you just like karaoke, that kind of stuff?
I've always loved music. I've been a shower and a car singer. I've done a little bit of karaoke. Always wanted to do music professionally, but told myself it would never happen. And then in 2019, I saw this little band at Polo Lounge, and they weren't anything like phenomenal, but they were very entertaining. And I thought, well, I could at least do that. And a couple months later, the opportunity to enter the 80s rock cover band just literally fell into my lap, and I was scared to death, but I auditioned and I got the gig, and so now I'm a professional musician.
So when we're talking about 80s cover bands, what are some of your influences? What are some things that, what are the groups that you lean towards?
So probably biggest influence would be Fleetwood Mac,
okay,
Linda Ronstadt, Whitney Houston in terms of female vocalists. But I like all music. My dad was like really old when he had me, so he loved 50s, 60s. My mom liked 60s, 70s, 80s, and then I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I love it all. I love all the decades. I love all the genres. Of course, some more than others, but good music is good music, and if something moves you, musically it does. And so I used to be like, I will never admit that I like this song or that song, and then I just started kind of owning it because music is so subjective, and if it does something for you, then it does something for you.
It's kind of funny. We talk a lot about music and floating, and how specifically music can kind of set the tone for the float and the environment, whether it be classic rock or country or more modern day pop or rap or whatever it is.
Right.
When you're out in a float situation, where do you lean? Are you more on that rock and roll side, or?
I would say probably some country. Country and floating seems to be like a great little, a nice match. Probably some classic rock.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of chill, laid back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we try not to, and Caleb and I have talked about this, we get really into our playlists, so we really try to orchestrate them so they crescendo, throughout the day, because you get going, drinks are flowing, people are coming over, you're having a good time.
Right.
You kind of want that to keep going. I imagine it's probably similar to how you design a set and set list for a show. Oh,
absolutely. You have to arc it a certain way. Do you want to come out and punch people in the face, or do you want to ease them in? Do you want to go out soft? Do you want to go out with a bang? We like to come in with a bang and go out with a bang.
Awesome.
We like to leave people going, what just happened to me?
When you guys are playing, what is that one song that the crowd always just loses it over?
Gosh, so many. I mean, that's one of the great things about this band, and it's like, I don't know if any of us can really take credit, because built into the music that we do is just this sense of nostalgia. And so I'm like, could anybody do what we're doing as long as they were playing our songs, or do we actually as individuals in the band bring something to what people like so much? But probably Let's Dance by Bowie, 1999 by Prince. People, men and women alike, love the Madonna songs, especially Like a Virgin. There'll be dudes who'll be like, hey, on all the little parts, and it's kind of funny. And guys also like girls just want to have fun. So again, music is so subjective, and you just don't know what people are going to like and why they're going to like it. But that's why I do what I do, is I love to see people's reactions and responses to music, because it's one of the most pure expressions of joy and happiness out there.
So one of the interesting things since we got here and got everything set up, and a lot of people coming by, festival's a little soft this morning, going to speed up tonight. A lot of people are walking by and just volunteering float stories. This lady walked up and she goes, "Oh my gosh, Faded Floater." She goes, "Let me tell you about this time on this river." And then, the river was running slow. There were some rocks. She left a little banged up because she flipped out of her tube, and beers, scattered out of the cooler, floating down the river. Growing up in Reno, Truckee is a staple, right, of the city, running right through the middle of town. If you haven't been here, you got to check it out. Tell us about a little something. Maybe you've had a floating experience on the Truckee, or maybe, on vacation.
I've actually only had one floating experience. It was on the Truckee, which seems a little ridiculous considering I've been here my entire life, which has been several decades. I won't admit how many decades, but it's been enough. But I had one experience. It was 4th of July. I think it was 2010. And we went to Mayberry Park, and we cast it off from there. And of course, 4th of July, so we were imbibing and just having a good time. And I guess I was buzzed enough to get on a raft, even though that kind of stuff scares me a little bit. And I got on with this complete stranger, this dude who worked with, was the brother of a guy I worked with. And we were floating, and, different parts of the Truckee are more treacherous or calm than others. I mean, in general, I don't think it's the most treacherous river you could get on, but there are certain spots that are a little bit more rough than others. And so we're just kind of cruising whatever, and we're drinking as we're going. I think we had probably a flask of some hard alcohol and then some brewskis. And, we're just kind of getting more and more drunk, and we're like getting to know each other as we're floating, and we're in a group, and we kind of keep floating apart and then floating back together. And I mean, we floated the duration of, I think we got off down by the Automobile Museum. So, okay. I mean, we floated quite a ways, but like right in the middle, we hit this crazy little bump, flipped over. I lost my sunglasses, had to kind of yank this guy out. It was like, maybe we should stop. Maybe this is a good sign that like we shouldn't be on this raft together. Probably wasn't a raft that could support two people, but it was the 4th of July. I mean, anything. 4th of July and New Year's Eve, anything goes. Right. But we got back in and continued to float and just had a good time, and and that, but the end of our float was by no means the end of our 4th of July celebration. I think we ended up watching fireworks down by the ballpark. I was
just about to ask. Yeah. Like, I'm assuming that the Truckee float, you can probably catch some fireworks in the evening if you're willing to risk a nighttime float, which I don't necessarily recommend.
No.
Yeah, especially on the Truckee.
Not on that river.
Yeah, no. And again, in certain spots, probably not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Very cool. Yeah. So you've been playing, like you said, the Reno River Festival a couple years. You got a big day tomorrow,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Tell us about what time people going to be coming in to see you guys.
So New Wave Crave begins, we begin our set at 2:45 on the main stage. We're going to play for an hour and 15 minutes nonstop, just back to back to back, high energy dance hits from the 80s. But the great thing about us, and I hope you guys are able to sneak over and catch our show, is we just don't kind of stand there play instruments. We're jumping around, we're dancing, we have choreographed moves. I play with toys and props on the stage. So we put on a show. Because anybody can go listen to live music.
Sure.
But people want to see a show.
We want to be entertained.
And
right?
we like to involve people in our shows and do audience participation, and just, we want people to walk away going, that wasn't your average,
right?
Local live band.
Create the engagement, create the following.
Yeah. And we're so lucky. We have an incredible following that has grown really, really organically. But I mean, some of my best friends are people I've met at New Wave Crave shows. Just really loyal people. You'd think after 50 shows they'd get sick of seeing and hearing us, but I think that too is part of the music that we're playing, is people just, it's such a part of their memory and their nostalgia, and the 80s is having such a moment right now culturally that we got lucky and we tapped into a really good little niche. So,
I think it's one of those conversations with 80s music It's like there's a genre of music there that's never going to be recreated again.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, just real, just core actual music, playing, ripping on the guitar,
right?
Actual vocals, no auto-tuning, and
it'll never be created again because it had never been created before that. There was three or four advancements, developments in music in the 80s. So people were just hearing things they'd never heard before. And I mean, there's people have mimicked that or whatever, but there's nothing like hearing those things for the first time. So.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, we appreciate you coming out.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate being invited.
Hopping on the Floatcast with us, which I don't know if you caught this earlier, Bryan. I don't think we ever put this together, but she said it's where we cast it into the river on her tube. And the fact that this is called Floatcast.
I didn't even mean to do that.
Really,
I'd love to take credit
really
for it.
Really ties it all together. I love it.
It was unintentional. And I will say tomorrow after the show, I'm going to hang out and enjoy the rest of the River Festival. That might include getting me on a raft again. I don't know. So...
Hey, anything's possible.
If anybody wants to float the truckee with Miss X tomorrow, I'll be available from 4:30 on.
There you go. You heard it here first on Floatcast.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much.
Well, thank you so much.
Sorry.
Sorry.
That's all right. I thought you were going to shake my hand.
Let's just give a quick little cheers for everybody.
All right.
So, cheers all. Thank you for Floatcast. I'm Bryan. This is Caleb. Thank you again, Miss X, and we'll see you all next time. Float on.
Float on.